45% of the people who retire at this age will run out of money, according to research. Let's check a look at this. My man Mike sent this to me, and it's it boggles the mind. My mind gets boggled. All right, so this is from MSN, and this guy's like, "What?" I gotta do my thumbnail. Like, how they do it? They do like this, like they point like where they go. I'm not in a good mood. I'm giving up sugar for Lent, and I'm not in a good mood. For generations, 65 has been widely viewed as a traditional retirement age. But if you stop working when you reach this age, there's a good chance you'll regret it financially, according to research. Nearly half of all Americans who retire at 65 are going to run out of money before they die, according to the Morningstar Center for Retirement Policy Studies. Let's check this out. So I clicked on it, and then we get finding one. All right. Assuming status quo for social... All right, right here. I just want to go to finding... Right there, finding 5. About 45% of current U.S. workers will experience retirement funding shortfalls, with females who are single at retirement age more at risk than single males and couples. Well, they feed too many cats, all right? Get rid of some of the cats, they'll probably be better off. Let's see, only about 28% would experience shortfalls if they kept working until they're 70. So they even say it right here. Working longer both decreases the number of years you spend in retirement and gives you retirement savings more time to grow. Working until 70 is the thing we should be doing. All right, so let's check this out. So I said, well, that's interesting. And so I said, I wanted to go here. So I wanted to go here and read the technical appendix. I got a 404. Oh, how dare they give me a 404? That's not good. So let's go to the infographic. And we do have the infographic. But I was like, why am I getting the infographic but not the oh man, I just deleted it. Yeah, I did. Not the appendix. I was like, that's annoying. Anyway, so I did download the thing. I gave my stupid email and all that. I downloaded. There's a couple of things I want to point out, which is just, it cracks me up, man. First, so I just got to point out a feather in my cap, because even Morningstar now recognizes the current population survey is not the gold standard of retirement income that everyone used to say until I came along. It was me. Actually, it was me for sure on YouTube. No one else is doing it. But what's the guy's name? Mitchell. I forgot his name. Joshua. I think, is it Joshua Mitchell? I forgot. A couple of people at Social Security Administration in 2017 had written that, said we can't use the current population survey because it understates income in 2017. And I had noticed that even before that. I was like, this doesn't make, because I actually looked at the retirement survey, the current population survey I said, this survey is confusing, man. It's very, very confusing. And everyone kept going with it. And I was like, how come no one's recognizing the confusing nature of the survey? Until about 2017 or 18 or something like that. Joshua Mitchell, I want to say his name, but don't quote me on that. They actually said, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. And as such, the current population survey, which was the gold standard, is no longer the gold standard of financial outcomes for retirement income. It's just not. So wonderful. I'm the first guy on YouTube who noticed that, by the way. I mean, even I started my channel in 2018. No one else talked about that, your old buddy Josh. So just stick with me. I will take you to the promised land, my friends. All right, so anyway. So even Morningstar is now saying we no longer use CPS, we use this SCF, which is a survey for consumer finances, which is fine. HRS, Health and Retirement Survey, all that stuff. I like the BLS numbers, though. The BLS data is pretty interesting. The Bureau of Labor Statistics. Either way, the CPS is not the gold standard. What they promised us for decades it was, and that still irks me, because for years they said this is the gold standard. And it turns out they were wrong. What else could they be wrong about? Jabby, 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 jabby. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. All right, so check this out. The model projects retirement outcomes for each household across 1,000 independent scenarios with a projection age going to 120. Dude, 120. Okay. Part 2, retirement expenses consist of 2 elements. Standard expenses, assuming no long-term care services support, and those with LTSS expenses. Interesting. The standard expenses are dynamic in the projection, generally decreasing over time. LTSS expenses are stochastic, which is random, and only occur in cases where a household member is either in a home health care or a nursing home. All right, interesting. So I like that. They're saying long-term care services support expenses are only attributed in the case that we are in a case where a household member is in a home health care or a nursing home. That's good. The standard expenses are dynamic and generally decrease over time. Well, what is that exactly? And we don't know. It doesn't say, and that's what drives me up the wall. Because we go down here to part 5, page 5, right here. Hold on a second. We see the model has specific states for long-term care services and support, because having to pay for long-term care services and support is one of the biggest financial risks for retirees. But they don't say how many people are going to have to pay for it. The model incorporates realistic investor behavior into the simulation process. The most salient example is a contribution model. Instead of assuming a static savings rate, the model simulates the contribution rate based on various individual factors, and they actually talk about if you leave your plan, it hurts for your overall retirement plan. Right here, long-term care services supports are only occurring when the individual requires home health care. Now, what exactly is the requirement for home health care? I don't know. We don't know. What does that mean? Are you living at home and your wife is taking care of you? Is that a requirement for home health care? I don't know. They just said only when you have required for home health care. And that's another frustrating thing. Yeah, you can't pick up the appendix as a 404. And that just ticks me off, dude. You got to allow these things to be seen. And I couldn't find it in here. So here's long-term care services support expenses are based on a national median cost for Genworth's care study. All right, we'll click that on. Cost of care study. We'll click on this. Virginia is the state they're using, so we'll just click on Virginia here. All right, because Virginia is where the legends are. We'll just say Harrisonburg. That's where my mom is. Say Harrisonburg, Virginia. Say monthly. And in-home care, they have nothing here. I don't understand. So where's the thing for in-home care? It doesn't show up. So let's go. I don't know. We'll go to Blacksburg. All right. So here's in-home care. Homemaker services is $5,800 a year. Home health aid is $6,300 a year. All right. Okay. Now that's in Harrisonburg, Virginia, Blacksburg. Let's go up here to Winch. We'll go down to. Don't have one for the DC area. Let's go to Richmond. All right, $5,500 for an in-home healthcare. Again, is that what we're using for in-home healthcare costs? I don't know. How long are we using it for? I don't know. I mean, all these things are we just don't know what they're using for these things. That's what drives me crazy. When you can't see the actual appendix, you don't know what they're using. Very frustrating. And on top of that, they're using a model till 120 years old. What? I mean, how many people are living to 120? I don't know. I don't know the answers for all this stuff because there's no appendix that we can click on. Now, they give lots of, refer to the technical appendix. Lots of footnotes, which I appreciate, but again, it's like, we don't know what you're using, and except refer to the technical appendix. There is a retirement crisis for those who are unable to participate in a defined contribution plan. Prove that. Prove it. Anyway, the whole thing is suspect, man. And if you can't see the appendix, and I've done this on Morningstar a couple times now, and both times I can't see the appendix. I don't get it. And we come down here, and they said, look at the appendix. I'm like, I'm trying to look at the appendix, but I can't find the appendix. And another thing that drives me up the wall too, I love all the footnotes, man, and the references, but it's just like I can't see. I have no clue what they're doing this on. But another thing that actually ticks me off, let me show you right here. This isn't it. I'll come back to that in a second. But there's a considerable dispersion in retirement outcomes with lower income workers much more likely to experience shortfalls. Not true. Social Security replaces a higher percentage of a lower income salary. That's just a fact. Whereas higher income, you get less and less and less. It actually, the upper middle class, the upper middle class are the people actually at work most concerned about a retirement crisis because they probably won't qualify for Medicaid unless they spend down everything, which you don't want to have to do because you're like, man, I've made $80,000 to $160,000 a year. Well, I don't want to be on Medicaid. You see what I'm saying? But the poor, as always, this country loves them some rich people and they love them the poor people. So people in the middle class always get the screws, man, 100%. If you're rich or poor, you can afford college. If you're middle class, not good, sucks for you. College is going to be very, very expensive. This is how it works, dude. If you're rich or poor, you get all kinds of, if you're rich, you go to Groton or whatever the hell school is. I don't know, some rich kid school like, Chelsea Clinton or Sidwell Friends. Obamas, they all get there and they all meet and rub shoulders. That's crazy. If you're poor, you get freaking affirmative action, you get all kinds of stuff. But if you're middle class, it's all on you, buddy. It's crazy. But anyway, so that's another thing that ticks me off. It's not about the poor people suffering. It's about the middle class that could potentially suffer, which is why we need to increase Social Security, by the way. But it gets even worse for these guys. Hispanic and black Americans are much more likely to run short of money than Americans of other racial and ethnic backgrounds. And they always compare to whites. They never compare to Indians or anything like that, or Asians. And I find this whole thing stupid. And this is based on the fascistic Social Security Administration through the Biden administration, who they pushed without question. And you can see, I'm going to do another video on this. I've done it a couple weeks ago. I'm going to do it again, even more just powerful. It says this is what happened when this is fascism. Biden's government wanted racial things put front and center, and all the academics basically sold themselves, if you know, like working on 14th Street in DC, if you know what I'm saying. They sold themselves. They said, okay, just give me the money and we'll focus on the race-based stuff that you want, as long as the money keeps flowing. That's fascism. Big government tells big business what to do, and big business says, yes, sir, I will do that. Now, everything is focused on racial dynamics. It's insane and it's fascistic and it's disgusting. I'm not even sure that Morningstar is getting money from the SSA consortium that Trump got rid of, thank the good Lord. But they're still using the same propaganda. It's freaking sickening. Anyway, so a whole bunch of issues in here. People are going to write about this until I can see the appendix. The same exact thing happened last year or 2 years ago when I did this exact same study on this. Morningstar has been doing this every year, every other year. I said the same thing. I couldn't see the appendix. So literally the exact same scenario. Still can't see the appendix. So I don't know what we're looking at, other than 120 years old. A certain amount of people have long-term service and support. How many of those people do? I don't know. You don't know. I mean, literally, and they're declining spending. But how much? I don't know. You don't know. They're just anyway. If the model is broken, how can you say that model is, or if the model is being? It's kind of like Michael Mann, his climate change stuff. You know, he got sued because he was saying he was suing people who said he was running a fraud because we couldn't see what his models were based on. And he sued a guy, my man Tim Ball, RIP, in Canada, and Michael Mann was told to pay him hundreds of thousands of dollars for a libel. And Michael Mann lives here in the United States. He goes, screw you, I'm not paying him. And then Tim Ball died, and Michael Mann just wiped his hands off it. He said, Michael Mann sued Tim Ball. Tim Ball won in the Canadian courts. Michael Mann had to pay Tim Ball hundreds of thousands of dollars for libel or something like that. And Michael Mann said, I'm not doing it, because Michael Mann said, I'm not going to show you my data. And the judge said, hey, if you don't show the data, we don't know what the hell. I mean, you could be making this up. We don't know. And Tim Ball won. Anyway, and I'm not saying, look, it's Jim Vanderhead. I like Jim Vanderhead. I know him. I don't know him personally, but I like what he does. It's just like, show the data, man. If we can't see the data, then I don't know. How can we use this as any kind of legitimacy? You just can't. All right. Love your thoughts. God bless. Smash and subscribe.